By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh, Jay.
Blessed be the Lord our God, who has allowed us to return once again. Holy and pray that those that have not arrived at the Most High will cross here safely, and those that can't make it out today, that the Most High will give them over the land during this day. This time, my last everyone, please open up your prayer books to page 29. The song for the beginning of Shabbat is Shabbat. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Shabbat. Shabbat day, and first and foremost, we ask you to forgive us our sins and the sins of our forefathers. We come before you, Jehovah, with an humble spirit because you are God and God alone, and we know the power that you are. You created the world, and we are elated, and we are proud to be with the God that created the heaven and the earth. You told our prophet that the gods that did not create the heaven and the earth would be destroyed.
That's right.
There was nothing. And we thank you, Jehovah God, for waking up your people, Israel, to know that you are God and God alone. Amen. I thank you, Jehovah, because you let us know that we are Israelites.
Amen.
No one told us we were Israelites. You did that. It's by your power that you called out your people to serve you. Man cannot bring you back here to serve you. It has to be you, Jehovah God, creator heaven and earth. And we thank you for that, God Almighty, creator and earth. The world don't understand the way you do things, God Almighty, creator and earth. They try to figure it out from the rising of the sun until going down thereof. But you're God and God alone. And they do things that man cannot fathom. And we thank you, God Almighty, for being in your presence. And you call this meeting, and you invite us to this meeting, and we say, Amen. Amen. We thank you for that, God Almighty. We thank you for the mercy that you bestow upon us by continuing to give us food, clothing, and shelter, giving us good health, giving us reason, giving us statutes, and ordinance, and commandments that the world don't have, God Almighty, creating earth. And you brought us back in perfect mindset to know that you are God and God alone. And we thank you for that, God Almighty, creating earth. We stand before you today on this holy Shabbat day, God Almighty. And we are proud, God Almighty. We are humble in our spirit to come before you and ask you to forgive us and forgive your appearance, God Almighty. Because we read of what they did, God Almighty, and you was angry with them. And I ask you, God Almighty, to be with us in our going and our coming and forgive us for the bouncing of our torah when we do it in this world, God Almighty, creating earth. Give us, give us that mindset and that straightness to serve thee, God Almighty, creating earth. I ask you, God Almighty, to be with the fathers, be with the mothers, be with the husband, be with the wife, and be with the children, God Almighty, creating earth. Be with the children because there's a lot of kidnapping in this city, God Almighty, creating earth. In this all United States, every minute they're kidnapping a child. I ask you to please be with the young one when they go to school and when they're coming back from school, God Almighty. Be with the fathers that go to work to bring home that bread to feed their family. And be with some of the mothers that are out there to do the same thing that the father is doing today. Because it's not an easy thing for one person to do in this land, God Almighty. So we thank you, God Almighty, for the strength and the go-to that you've given to your people, Israel. Be with the sick of Israel, God Almighty. And please, God Almighty, heal us. Give us the right medicine. Give us the right know-how to go to the right doctor. Be you the doctor. Send us to the right physician that he can heal us, God Almighty, from our sickness, God Almighty. Because you alone can do that. We don't have that power. We don't have that know-how to go to the right person. You does that. You guide man's step to do the right thing. And we thank you, Jehovah God, for being our God again. I cannot stop to continue to exalt your name as the God that created the heaven and earth, because you are God and God alone. And I thank you for bringing me back in this way of life to know that you are God. I ask you, God Almighty, to be with the elders of Israel. Give them strength to continue to praise thee, God Almighty. Give them that stick-to-itness that they have, God Almighty, and give them strength to continue to serve thee. It's not easy, God Almighty, creating earth for the elders of today, but I ask you to please give us that strength to continue to praise thee. Call on Jehovah for your goodness and your mercy. Hallelujah. 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 Amen. Amen. O Shema Yisrael, Yahweh.
Shema, Shema, Yisrael. If thou turn away thy foot because of the Shabbat, from pursuing thy business on my holy day, and call the Shabbat a delight, and the holy of Yahweh honor, and shall honor it, not doing thy wanted ways, nor pursuing thy business, nor speaking thereof. Then shall thou delight thyself in Yahweh. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy. 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 Jehovah is the King of the universe. Jehovah is the King of the universe. may be seated. Thanking this great and glorious King. His name is Yahweh. And we thank him for this holy day of rest. We know it as the Sabbath day. Or as we say in Hebrew, the Shabbat day. Or Yom HaShabbat. We thank this great King for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We thank him for allowing us to wake up this morning, because today wasn't guaranteed to any one of us. But God woke us up this morning, and we got to give him glory and praises for even doing that. Am I right or wrong? We have to acknowledge that this great King is one, and besides him there is no other. He said he created the heavens and the earth alone, by himself. He said he stretched out. He said from the rising of the sun to the going down thereof, he said there is none like unto him. And unto him, and him alone, do we give glory, and do we give praise. We almost say hallelujah. Hallelujah. His name is Jehovah. He identified himself as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He said this should be his memorial throughout all generations. That means that when we talk about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we know who we're talking about. We know that we're specifying a God, and that's the God that created the heavens and the earth. We're not talking about any other. We give glory to this great King. We magnify his name because he is to be magnified. He is to be exalted. He is to be given all the glory and all the things that you can muster up to say great about an entity. He is the one that you're supposed to muster it up and say it. That's right. The creator of heaven and earth. Not to man. Because man is a creation. God is the creator. So how can you give more credit to the creation than the creator? The creator is the one that made us all. Amen. So when we wake up in the morning, we got to be thankful to him. The creator is the one that allows us to get up, move, get around, give you a clean bill of health. Yeah, we might have little aches and pains here and there, but overall you're doing good. Amen. So that's the one that we got to be thankful to. He's the one that when you were sleeping on one side all night last night and your arm locked up on you or it got numb, he's the one that turned you over to the other side so that the circulation they can stop completely and then your arm is no good to you anymore. He's the one that through this bone-chilling temperatures, through this bone-chilling weather, we had a place to stay and we was warm and we was able to say torah YAH. That's the God that we serve. That's the God that we look to. You know how many people passed away? I lost count at 15 because of the cold. He said he giveth and he taketh away, and blessed be his name. He said he used his host. Don't you know the cold is part of his host? Just like in Egypt, he used the locusts. He used the murrain. He used the frogs. He used the blood. He used all these things as his host, as his army. So he uses the cold, the weather, the snow as his host to come up and cleanse the earth. We're not talking about a love God, a God that just professes love, because God said, he said, I love Jacob. He said, but I hated Esau. We're not talking about a God that tells you to turn the other cheek either. No, you don't turn cheek. Because the people who taught us to turn the other cheek, right? When they got into wars, they never turned the other cheek.
No, they don't do that.
I always said, when the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, had static with the British government, they was blowing up everything in sight. And they were Christians. So they should have followed their own way of thinking and their own testament. But they didn't do that. You know why? Because God didn't make mankind like that. Because if somebody slaps you on one side of your face, your first reaction is to slap them back. Unless it's your parents, you just got to eat that. Your parents slap you, you just got to eat that. Walk away. Humble yourself. Sit down. And think about why you got slapped. Because if you go around putting your hands on your parents, there's a law for that in the Torah. In the Old Testament it says, he who smiteth his mother or his father shall be put to death. So God teaches us respect and honor parents, am I right or wrong? That's part of the Ten Commandments. We learned that growing up. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God giveth thee. Honor, you know what encompasses honor? Respect, love, fear. All those things you got to have for your parents. I don't care what situation they in, how you might look at them, they brought you on this earth. That's why I cringe when I hear people talk about, my father wasn't no good, he wasn't dead. All that might be true, but it's not for you to say. Because God tells us, he said also, don't shed no light on your parents. So the respect of parents is paramount before the creator of heaven and earth. So we got to respect our parents. That going back and forth with parents and answering back and talking back and doing all that because you getting a little hair where they used to grow before. You might be smelling yourself.
You smell bad.
Hey, you do smell bad. Barely know how to clean yourself properly. So now you feel like because now you can see your parents eye to eye. So you feel because you can see them eye to eye, this society has taught you that you could go back and forth with your parents. But you know what happens? Society has gotten soft. Because back in the day, your mother picked up the nearest thing to her. Frying pan, heel, anything. Today, that's called child abuse. But back then, it was perfectly normal. She said, oh boy, go out there, go get that switch. And you better get me a good one. Get me a good one. I don't want one that break. I want a supple one. Because when I finish leaning on you, you're going to know who's boss. And it didn't matter how big you was. You could have been 6'12". 6'15".
You know, one side.
Extension cord beatings. These kids today, they don't know what all that stuff is. They don't know that stuff. Mother used to line you up. Yo, y'all want to be in here fighting and breaking up my stuff and doing all that stuff. Oh, I got something for y'all. I got something for y'all. We're going to start from oldest to youngest. But I didn't have nothing to do with it. But you was here and you didn't stop it. So you're going to get it. Everybody going to get it. And it wasn't, and when the neighbor heard you hollering and screaming and all that, ain't nobody called no police. Police? In fact, when the neighbor saw you, he said, good for you. They don't even know why you got beat for. Say, good for you. Whatever you did, that was good. That punishment was good. So that's the time that we come from. That's the God that we serve that implements all these rules and all these regulations. We don't serve a God that teaches us to turn the other cheek. We men. That's the God that we serve. We serve a God that told the children that told Egypt, he said, hold back and you're going to see my might. He said, you're going to see, he said, I'm going to bear my holy arm to you. Moses was scared because he got to the brinks of the sea. And he said, God, what I'm going to do now? The Egyptians are there. The pillar of fire is between the Egyptians and the children of Israel. God said, fret not. He said, why you great? He said, stretch your rod out. He said, and the sea split open. He said, and the children of Israel walked on dry ground. That's the God we serve. He make a way for us where there is no way. How many times have you been down and out? And we could testify to this. I don't know how this one happened. I don't know how this one happened. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. And we call on God. And what he do? He deliver us. How the song go? He said, said, maybe it said, what it said, not always there when you call, but I'm always on time. I might have messed up the song, but something like that.
You might not get it when you want, but he'll get it to you.
But when you really need him, he did. That's the God we serve.
You got to be right.
And he's a God that's jealous.
Amen. Jealous God. Jealous God.
We go to Isaiah 43.
All right. Teach that. Bring the word.
Real quick.
43.
Talk about the God that we serve.
Amen. Amen.
All right, so we start with Isaiah 42, verse 1. Behold, my servant whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall make the right to go forth to the nations. It's talking about the children of Israel.
Amen.
It's talking about his holy people. Now, when we think about the children of Israel and we're thinking about an ancient people, we're not talking about the people who call themselves Jews today.
No.
The children of Israel did not look like that. They originally did not look like that. They didn't look like that. Israel, the nation of Israel, it's a nation that's located in Northeast Africa.
That's right. Amen.
Africa is called the Black Continent.
Amen. Amen.
Now just think about that. Israel is a people that mingled and married Canaanites,
Yes, that's right.
married Egyptians.
Thank you.
Ancient Egyptians were all Hamitic people, right?
People.
Black people.
Amen.
Now, even in their dictionaries, it says that the descendants of Ham are the African nations.
Amen. That's right. Amen. Bible dictionary. Amen.
They weren't known as Egypt, they were known as Mishpatim.
That's right. That's right.
So if Joseph married an Egyptian and he had Manasseh and Ephraim, right? And he was a man of color, and definitely the Egyptians were people of color, then how do you think those children came out? Judah, Tamar was a Canaanite.
Amen. 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 Teach that. Bring torah.
She was a Canaanite.
Yeah.
So if he was a man of color and he married and he had children with a woman of color, how do you think those children came out? This ain't racist talk. This is true. They don't like to hear this. It's very hard to find a European in the Tanakh.
That's right. He's not there.
You can't find Europe in the Tanakh, but you can find Africa all in it.
Exactly. That's right.
But this is not, but you see, they don't teach us this in school.
No.
They refuse to teach us that. But geographically, if we look at Israel, right, the land of Israel, the landmass, it's sitting on the African tectonic plate.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
That's geographically.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There was no separation in that landmass between Israel and Egypt until they built the Suez Canal.
There you go. That's right. Suez Canal.
So this Middle East stuff, there was no landmass known as Middle East.
No.
All that was known, all that Sinai Peninsula and all that stuff was known as Africa. There was, in fact, at one time it was known as the land of Cush.
Land of Cush. That's right. That's right. Land of Cush.
We married Ethiopians. Then they say that Aaron and Miriam was upset with Moses because of the Ethiopian, the Cushite woman that he married.
Right.
Cush is Ethiopia.
Amen. Amen.
They was known as the burnt-faced people.
That's right.
Cush.
Cush.
So we married into people of color.
Amen. Amen.
It's very hard to find a European in there.
He's not there.
And the Tanakh. You know when you start seeing Europeans? When Alexander, that's apocryphal time. Alexander and them guys start coming into play.
There you go.
Now we got the Mediterranean region, and I'm sure that some people made trips back and forth, but we wasn't marrying them.
No.
We was marrying people that we was amongst. We married the people God told us not to marry. Ahab married a Sidonian.
Yeah.
Jezebel was a Sidonian, a Canaanite. And he was a king of Judah. So how do you think that offspring came out? So this is not racism. This is true talk.
There you go. There you go. True.
We are people of color. The ancient Israelites were people of color, but they taught us for a while they said Jesus, they showed us Jesus as a white man.
That's right.
Right? A white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. But the reason why they did that is because when they brought us here to captivity, right? And they gave us the God that they wanted us to serve, right? He looked like the people that was oppressing us.
Amen.
And then they taught us turn the other cheek. But the only ones that was getting beat was us.
That's right.
The people that was enslaved.
That's right.
Because if a plantation owner stole a slave from another plantation owner and he didn't return it, they was going to war and they was Christians.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They didn't exercise love thy brother as thyself.
No, they didn't.
Love your enemy.
No, they didn't.
They didn't exercise that because they treated us like animals. They looked at us as if we was cattle. But we was the ones that was getting beat. We was the ones that was getting abused. They gave us their God to worship. God never told us to worship a man. It says here, he shall not cry nor lift up nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the dimly burning wick shall he not quench. He shall make the right to go forth according to the truth. He shall not fail nor be crushed till he has set the right on the earth. And the isles shall wait for his teaching. Thus saith God, Jehovah, he that created the heavens and stretched them forth, he that spread forth the earth, and that which cometh out of it, he that giveth breath unto the people upon it, and spirit to them that walk therein. I, Jehovah, have called thee in righteousness, and have taken hold of thy hand, and kept thee. Now we're going to go down to Isaiah 43, verse 10. It says, let's start from verse 9. All the nations are gathered together, and the people are assembled. Who among them can declare this and announce to us former things? Who among the nations can declare and announce former things? No one, because only God could do that. It says here, let them bring their witnesses that they may be justified, and let them hear and say, it is true. Let them bring their witnesses. In other words, bring people that could testify and say that they could pronounce the future. There's only one that could do that. Then it goes on and it says, ye are, let them bring their witnesses, and let them hear and say, it is true. Verse 10. Ye are my witnesses, saith Jehovah, my servant whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me and understand that I am he. And before me there was no God formed, neither shall any be after me. It says the Lord here, but when we read it in the original text, right, wherever you see Lord, the name of the Most High is there. Jehovah, Yahweh, Yod-Heh, Wav-Heh. God says, we are his witnesses. Why are we his witnesses? Because our forefathers witnessed the splitting of the Red Sea. Our forefathers witnessed the coming down of manna from heaven. And the Most High God feeding us quail. That's why we are his witnesses, not the people that call themselves Jehovah's Witnesses. They were originally called Russellites because they were created by a man called Charles Taze Russell. And that was his cult. And originally, black people were not allowed in it.
That's right.
So that can't be a religion for black people.
No, that's right.
I'm not teaching hate, I'm teaching the truth.
He was a racist.
You can research this stuff.
He was a racist.
Black people were not allowed in that Jehovah's Witness religion.
That's right.
So we are the true witnesses of Yah. We are the true witnesses. And it says, before me there was no God formed, neither shall be after me. So how do you come hundreds of years later and you accredit, you say that God came on earth, manifest as a man. And through him, all the sins of the earth will be expiated. Through a man. God said, before me there was no God formed, neither shall any be after me. So that means he stands alone. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Said, even I am Jehovah, and beside me there is no Savior. Amen. So where do we get that a man came and died and saved the world from sin? Answer answer that to me when God already said besides him there is no Savior?
There is no Savior.
No man could die for your sin.
That's right.
Every person is accounted for their own iniquity.
That's right.
The Son cannot die for the sin of the Father, neither can the Father die for the sins of the Son. Every man shall die for his own iniquity.
That's it. Teach.
Every man. That's the laws of God. I'm not making that up.
No, that's right.
I'm not making that up.
It's Yah's word.
Isaiah 44 verse 6. Thus said Jehovah, the King of Israel, the King of Israel. So when God gave us a king, that was just a prince. That wasn't really a king. He said he's the King of Israel. It says, and his Redeemer, Jehovah of hosts. How is he our Redeemer? Because he's going to redeem us from each and every one of these lands that he scattered us to. All the islands. Don't you know that we all the same people? No matter where you come from Trinidad, you come from Guyana, you come from St. Kitts, you come from Barbados, Grenada, Panama, Costa Rica. Don't you see one of us in all of those places? Jamaica. Wherever we come from, we here. You know why? Because God scattered us to the four corners of the earth. And when we read in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, it tells us, he says, a nation fears with no regard for old or young shall come and get us and shall put yokes of iron around our necks. He said, a nation as swift as the eagle fly. What's the symbol of the United States of America? What's most of the symbols of most of these Western countries is the eagle. They're represented by the eagle. Symbolism. And they came and got us. So this was prophesied thousands of years back, what would happen to the so-called Negro, to the West Indian, to the Caribbean. To the Jamaican, because you Trina, you think you're not better. We all in the same boat. Same boat. Because they taught us divide and conquer. So they tell us, if you come from over here, I speak the Queen's English, so I'm better. You're not better. You know why? And you know when you know you're not better? Because you come here a generation, and then your children are born here, and guess what happened to your children? They do the same thing that every other child that's raised up here do. So what makes you better? So it makes us understand and know that we are the same people. And we have to come back and praise the same God.
That's it. Teach.
No difference. What we have to learn to do is work with each other. Because you might have something that I might not have. You could teach me something that I might have not learned. And people back in the days work better than today. Because today we're so separated that we can't see each other. But Marcus Garvey came from Jamaica.
Yeah. Oh yes.
And he had millions of black people following him.
Oh yes.
Call it the Garveyite movement. You had Israelites, you had Christians, you had all types of people, Muslims, you had all types of people, Moors, following that movement. You know why? Because it was unity amongst God's people. It wasn't cliquish. That clique stuff kills us. It kills us. You know why? Because we should all have the same perspective. We should all have the same goal. But what they do, they try to divide us and conquer us. Make you feel like you better than this one and that one and this one.
Always the same thing.
That's what they did. God says, I am the first and I am the last. And besides me, there is no God. So how many times does God has to reiterate this to make us understand that besides him, there is no other?
That's right. Yeah. So we won't forget.
Besides him, there is no God. Besides him, there is no Savior. He said, I'm the first and I'm the last. So that's absolute, right? I'm the Alpha, as they say in the New Testament. I'm the Alpha and the Omega. But Yah is God. That covers everything. So where do we get that there's a man that came and he's an intercessor between us and God?
Keep us from Yah.
Where do we get that from? We don't have that. We got one God. We have one Redeemer. We have one Savior. And his name is Jehovah. Hallelujah. Praise be the Holy King of Israel. Thank you, the Most High King, for our lives. I'm grateful to this great King. Thank you, the Most High God, for the life. You know, we always give glory to God and God alone. That's it. That's our whole thing. When I come up here and I acknowledge the elders, the 3 elders that's in the midst of us, it's because that's something that I do. But the glory, it goes to God first. If I come up here and I don't do that, then they can't get mad. No. Because the glory really goes to God. That's just something that I do out of my heart for respect. But any man that comes up here, they're not obligated to do that. Any sister that come up here, you're not obligated. The obligation is to God first. That's it. Not to man. No. It's not our day. It's God's day. It's God's day. That's right. It's God's glory. So I give respect to the leader of this congregation. And the reason why he's the chief prince, see, he was nice last week. The reason why he's the chief prince of this congregation is because he's the leader of this congregation. Amen. That's the reason why he's the chief prince of this congregation. So there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is the chief prince of CHOKMAH BINAH because he's the leader of this congregation. And he's a person that has the temperament to be a leader. He's a person that has the aptitude to be a leader. He's good enough to be a leader. So that's it. That's why he's called Chief Prince. He's just trying to be nice and he's humble and all that. But I'm gonna say it for him because he might not want to say it. Yeah, he's not gonna do that. But I'll be the alter ego, what he really want to say.
That's right.
Tell him alter ego.
And I got some other few choice words, but it's the Shabbat day. Thank you, the Most High God, for his life. Thank you, the Most High God, for the life of his wife, even Princess Shekinah. That the Most High God will bless her with health, wealth, and all the things desirable in their minds and righteousness. That the Most High God be with Chief Kohath and his wife, Princess Hannah. That the Most High God will bless them with health, wealth, and all the things desirable in their minds and righteousness. And that the Most High God be with Chief Elquana and his wife, even Princess Sedera. And that the Most High God will bless them with health, wealth, and all the things desirable in their minds and righteousness. That the Most High God continue to be with all of our elders, Ima Sarah, Ima Muna, Ima Olive, Ima Keturah, Ima Yakolia at home, and everybody that's here, that the Most High God be with our brother Junior. And who's this, your Abba? Your Abba, hallelujah. What's your, that's Caesar. If you Junior, that's Caesar, right? Good to see you, sir. What's your name? Matt. Good to see you, my brother. May the Most High God bless you. May the Most High God cause you to gain understanding and wisdom on this day. Hallelujah. We're going to move straight ahead. I already burnt off the Torah service. But we're going to have the Maftir and the brother who's going to do the high Torah portion. And that'll be our brother Elquana Bain, Chief Elquana Bain Yehuda. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Got fired up for me this morning, Chief.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to give all honor, respect, glory, and praise to the Creator of all things and everything, the God of our ancient forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael. Amen. The God that allowed us all to be here this day. The God that allowed us to know His name and that we should give praise to Him and Him alone. Amen. And if you didn't get that message this morning, well, you definitely got it. You get it now. The Most High is by Himself, and there is none that He can consort with. There is none that can help Him, and there is none that can deliver out of His hand. So our Most High. As I'm giving praise to the Most High, I also want to add in that before this Gregorian New Year came in, I asked the Most High God, I said, I don't want snow. I said, Most High, I don't want them to have a white Xmas. I don't want them to have a white New Year's. I don't want no snow. And up until this very day, you could look out this window, we had snow once this week and the grounds are still clear. So I would like to think that the Most High heard my prayers and answered my prayers. I know Chief Michael mentioned a few weeks ago that we ask the Most High God for things and we ask Him to hear our prayers. And sometimes we forget to ask the Most High to answer our prayers. And my prayers are still being answered. So again, giving glory and praise to the King of the universe. As long as there ain't no snow on the floor, I know my prayers was heard. If anybody else asks for it, that's great, but I know my prayers were heard. I also like to give due respect to my Abba, Chief O'Connor being here. I ask the Most High God continue to be with him and bless him with good, and long life, and a healthy life. He asked for 120 years. If the Most High God allow him to see that, I'll be blessed just knowing that he gave him that. I also like to give due respect to the leader of CHOKMAH BINAH, Prince Ben Yisrael. As was mentioned earlier, even a humble man that wouldn't even call himself a leader, even like we see with Moshe. Moshe, a very humble person before the people. He never considered himself in that leadership position as of having power over the people, but be in a position of power to bless the people or to pray for the people. And that's the kind of people that you want around you, or even to be leading you in a certain path. Not a person that thinks they can manipulate you because they're in a position of power, but a person that sees that they can bless you because of the position they're in. Also giving due respect to Chief Kohat Ben Lewi, and Torah provide for his life and allow him to have good health and wealth, and ask that the Most High God continue to be with him. I want to say Torah provide to the Most High for all the lives of everybody that's in this household today and our family online, and ask that the Most High God continue to be with you all. And with that, I bid you all in the tongue of our ancient forefathers, Shabbat Shalom Lakim.
Shabbat Shalom Lakim.
Right, I would ask how y'all doing, but I know y'all fired up, so ain't no point even asking. So the Torah portion for today is going to be found in the book of Jeremiah, and this is in correlation with the Sidra Mishpatim, which will be taught after I step down. So that portion basically starts to talk about different ordinances, and to some extent you're going to see certain civil laws of how we're supposed to deal with each other in regards to work and certain monetary situations. I'm not going to spend too much time in Jeremiah because there is a topic that I do want to talk about, so we're just going to briefly go through this, and I'm going to show the correlation between why this is the Haftorah for the Sidra today. So the portion is in Jeremiah, starting chapter 34, verse 8.
We're in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 34, beginning in verse 8. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
The word that came unto Jeremiah from Yahweh. After that, the king Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people that were at Jerusalem to proclaim liberty unto them, that every man should let his manservant and every man his maidservant, being a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, go free, that none should make bondmen of them, even of a Hebrew his brother. And all the princes and all the people hearkened that had entered into the covenant, to let everyone his manservant and everyone his maidservant go free, and not to make bondmen of them anymore. They hearkened and let them go.
Okay, so right here is pretty much where we see how it correlates today with the Sidra. And it talks about manservant and maidservants, and how in today's portion where the teacher teaches it, you're going to see that after a certain period of time, we're supposed to let these people go. And if they decide that they do want to continue to stay with us and serve us, there's a procedure that we go about to make that happen. And in this scenario right here, we're talking about King Zedekiah, one of the last kings before the Babylonians took it over, well, destroyed Jerusalem, really. We see here where the people was doing contrary to the Most High God's law, where we're keeping servants, you know, especially our brothers, Hebrew servants, and they use the word here in my book, Jew, but in Hebrew you see Yehudi, which is a Judite, just like if you see in certain portions in Exodus or whatever, where it'll say Hakna'ani, that's the Canaanite. So you'll see that term used for somebody that's belonging to a certain people. So Yehudi is not a Jew, it's a Judite. I mean, Jew can loosely be used as someone belonging unto Judah, but what comes behind that word, a lot of times when people see the word Jew, they think of a certain European people. Not to make this a color or a race thing, but just to put this into perspective of why certain words may be used, because there are certain truths that people may not want us to know, or our people to know. So right now we see they're doing contrary to the Most High God's law. They're keeping Hebrew servants longer than they're supposed to. Tosif.
Verse 11. But afterwards they turned and caused the servants and the handmaids, whom they had let go free, to return, and brought them into subjection for servants and for handmaids.
So basically, they were told what to do with the servants. Even though they were supposed to know the law already and supposed to be doing better, they were put in a position because Zedekiah made a covenant with the Most High that, okay, you know what, we're going to have the people let all their servants go. And like most people, when you're put between a rock and a hard place, you're going to follow what you have to follow. until you see that nobody watching. You ain't got to worry about nobody seeing you do what you about to do. So you go ahead and do it. So that's what the people did. They agreed at that time, all right, we're going to let all the servants go. We're going to let them go. Ain't nobody here patrolling us. Ain't nobody here watching us. So what they did, they brought the people right back into servitude. So see?
Verse 12, therefore the word of Yahweh came to Yirmiyahu from Yahweh, saying, thus saith Yahweh, the God of Yisrael, I made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, saying, at the end of 7 years, ye shall let go every man his brother that is a Hebrew, that has been sold unto you, and has served you 6 years. You shall let him go free from you. But your fathers hearken not unto me, neither incline their ear. And ye were now turned, and had done that which was right in my eyes, and proclaiming liberty every man to his neighbor. And ye had made a covenant before me in the house whereon my name is called. But ye turned to profane my name, and called every man his servant and every man his handmaid, whom ye had let go free at their pleasure, to return. And ye brought them into subjection, and to be unto you for servants and for handmaids. Therefore thus saith Yahweh, ye have not hearkened unto me, to proclaim liberty, every man to his neighbor, and every man to his brother, and every man to his neighbor. Behold, I proclaim for you a liberty, saith Yahweh, unto the sword, and the pestilence, and unto the famine. And I will make you a horror unto all the kingdoms of the earth.
And the Most High God kept his word. You know, this is further just reiterating what the people were doing. They went right back against their word, just like we did when we said, when Moses went up to the mount, he came back down, said the words unto us. He said, all that we said, all that you say we will do. Lo and behold, what do? Go right back to our old ways. So we've always been that same people. So we let go of the servants. We were, you know, it was brought to remembrance of us. At the end of 7 years, he shall let every man his brother that is a Hebrew, that have been sold unto thee, and have served thee 6 years, that thou shalt let him go free from thee. So just in case we forgot, we was told again. We was reminded. All right. So now, because you agreed to do this thing, and you went back on it, now the Most High God is telling us, here are these punishments and these things that's going to follow after. You know. So if anyone does want to further read this, it doesn't. This portion here doesn't really go into the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem and what happens here. We're gonna find the. I actually have it. You can't see it in 2 Kings. Slide, give me a second, everybody. I didn't write this one down in my notes. So 2 Kings 20. All right, 2 Kings 25 and 2 Chronicles was 25 1 through 7, but you can read more. 2 Chronicles chapter 36 12, and this is when you see that the Babylonians are actually taking over Jerusalem and, you know, the southern kingdom of Judah. And this is just to show that another point in our history, the Most High God gave us something simple to do. We was already going against his word, but he gave us something simple to do to get back in his good grace. And what did? We did it for a minute, right? You know, just because we were scared. That's just like a child. We give them a little beating. They may act good for a minute, but eventually they may do something that shows you they need a reminder. And that was Israel. But the Most High God had to really show us at this time that he meant business. So I'm just going to cut the portion for today. Jeremiah short there. That's the connection between the Sidra and the Haftorah about the servants and the servitude and the length of time in which was supposed to happen. Now, the topic that I more so want to speak about today is something that was introduced to me last year in one of my classes. It's called technocracy and a technopoly. And these are two different things. Before I talk about that, I want to ask, what is the latest deity, and do we in some way worship it? Close. It's very close. It's very close. But technology, not necessarily just your phone, but technology itself is the latest deity. one of the books that our professors had us read was Technopoly, the Surrender of Culture to Technology. And in this book, it begins to discuss a lot of things about how technology is corrupting and degrading our morality and our spirituality as human beings. And this book takes excerpts from other books and a lot of people. This is all the way back in the 1800s. This is not even 1900s. I'm talking mid-1800s, where you have people talking about spiritual degradation because of all of these technological advancements. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the technocracy. If I start to go too long, I know you got me. So the technocracy, it says, is a society that is loosely controlled by social custom and religious traditions and driven by the impulse to invent. An unseen hand will eliminate the incompetent and reward those who produce cheaply and the goods that people want. So technocracy was what America used to be. So that's when we started to get into that technological boom, and we getting all these inventions coming about. We got the telegraph and the telephone and the typewriter and all these different textile mills. That's when technology began to boom, you know. And at that point, there was still a lot of religious practices and religious beliefs that went on in America and throughout the world, because it happened in Europe first, and America being the child of Europe, it started here as well, but America just took off with it. So with these technological advancements, this thing began to happen where technology became more important than the human. And that's why you had a certain point in history where they had these people called the Luddites over in Europe, where they seen how technology began to cause them to lose their jobs. And when people are forced into a position where they can't feed their family, what they did was they started to destroy these new inventions so they could have work. Going back to work, today's portion, having servants. But so that was the technocracy. Technocracy, technology, crazy, meaning like to rule or to have power, like a democracy or something like that. So this is technology coming into power. Now we're going to work our way into a technopoly. Yes. Techno, technology, poly, many. So many technologies. Computers, phones, cars. They have introduced technology into every aspect of our lives, and in a sense has caused us to deify technology, because we, me included, cannot really go, like, we can't go without it. We can't go with technology. And I guess the Most High had to show me this personally this week, because my phone blacked out on Monday, and I didn't have to take my phone to Sprint to have my old phone turn on yesterday. So I went 4 days without my phone. The first 2 days I started stressing, but then I had to remind myself, like, I knew I wanted to talk about this. So I had to really sit there and think to myself, I can't be upset over not being able to use my phone for these few days, knowing how technology has infiltrated our society, and even infiltrated us, being that we're supposed to be a godly people. So I'm gonna read another one of the excerpts from the book where it says, here we go. It says, the engine of technological process worked most when people are conceived of as not children of God, or even as citizens, but as consumers, that is to say, as markets. So, to just further reiterate how you deify this item that we call technology, these are words coming out of these own people's mouths. You know, they're saying they don't want human beings. They're not talking about black, white, or anything, because in order for this system to work, they know they can't just do it to a certain set of people. All people have to be trapped into this technology for this thing to work. Because while we were still trying to get our freedom as slaves, and we were still trying to get equal rights, and we wanted equal pay and all these fair things, they was fighting a whole different battle on a whole different front. We weren't even thinking about these things because of the condition that we were in. So these were them fighting their fight about technopoly versus, religious practices. And to read another excerpt from Aldous Huxley, he wrote in his book, this is an excerpt from a book from another book. He said that in regards to a technopoly, and this is towards religious practices, traditions, and beliefs, he says, it does not make them illegal, it does not make them immoral, it does not even make them unpopular. It makes them invisible and therefore irrelevant. And it does so by redefining what we mean by religion, art, family, politics, history, truth, privacy, intelligence, so that our definitions fits its new requirements. Technopoly, in other words, is a totalitarian technocracy. So in order for this to effectively work, they have to see us as consumers. And in order for this to continue to work, they have to redefine our definitions of things. So now we're stuck into, now we live in a world, you know, we benefit from having the First Amendment rights to practice and to speak our religious beliefs, but there's a pro and a con to that. Because with that, they formed in this new generation mind that let people be people, let people do what people want to do. So if you want to believe this, you believe this. If I want to believe that, let me believe that. If he want to love him, let him love him. If she want to love her, let her love her. Because what it did was it took out the morality and the religious traditions that came along with, you know, years of, because in most religious practices, you're going to find some relation to this book. Whether it be the Quran or the New Testament, you're still going to relate back to the Old Testament. And there's always some level of morale in those beliefs. But what you have to do is, in order to make people completely stuck into a technopoly and to really deify technology, you have to make them disregard their beliefs. Which is why a lot of children don't really care about Torah. And I got to say it that way because that's just the truth. They don't care about it because they're growing up in a world where technology is the thing that they want to have. So as long as they have the latest phone, the latest tablet, the latest this, the latest that, because they have effectively turned you and your children into consumers, why do I care about God? And, all right, I'm not going to be with a man, but I don't care if he's going to be with me. See, that's what they have done to your children, your sons and your daughters, and they're pushing this more and more in school. The only thing these kids care about nowadays is technology, and yes, even some of us adults, you know, myself included from time to time. As long as we got the latest phone, this and that, you know, and then these providers, they always want to get you in a plan to have you update to the latest phone, latest phone. Always the latest this and the latest that. They're integrating technology into our vehicles. So now, eventually, they already have self-driving cars. They have self-driving trucks. So we're going to enter to an age where technology is going to begin to take over society more and more and more. But like I said previously, we were so busy fighting the battle of inequality that we didn't know this battle was being fought. And I think, you know, that's why the Most High showed me this, because I said I got to let my people know, because while we're still fighting this battle of inequality. We're still being murdered, and even some people being lynched as late as last year. You know, so we're still fighting this battle of inequality in America. But let us not be distracted from the fact that they have introduced a new deity into society, in which we all play a part to some extent in worshiping. You know, we may not deliberately do it. We don't bow down to technology. But if one of us was just to drop the phone like that, y'all probably worried about my phone. That's fine. I'm getting another one on Tuesday. But you see, a lot of people got anxiety for that quick second just because I dropped my phone, just to show you to some extent how we have deified technology. You know, and to bring it back to the portion, this is what our forefathers did over and over again. It wasn't just like a quick step process from going to worshiping the Most High to worshiping the false God. It was eased in there. And then you got a couple generations later where, well, I don't see this as being, well, we have our temple, let us have their temple, you know, and that's what they're doing now with the children. We have our ways, but let us not push it on them. When it's not necessarily pushing Torah on them, it's teaching them a better way of life that'll help them live and, you know, cooperate as human beings amongst one another. Because the level of trust of one another that we're supposed to have when we're practicing Torah is supposed to be so strong that we feel completely comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't have to worry about people doing certain things. If you left something here, you should know that hopefully by next week it should be there. And if not, Torah tells you how to handle that situation. Torah tells you how to handle. If it's not there and you find out who, and you know who, Torah tells you how to handle that situation. And which we will see today in today's portion, where it begins to talk about if you left something with somebody and the thief be found, he has to pay, and if it not be found, who is responsible for it. But you know, I just want to end off with let us just be a little bit more conscious of it. Again, the name of the book is Technopoly, The Surrender of Culture to Technology. It's not a long book. You can finish it in a few days. And it mentions other books in there as well that will tell you about how other people talked about technology and its effect on society, how it's taken over. And there's a lot of things that, you know, we should wake up to, because we don't want to be at that point where it's so late that it's already embedded in every aspect of our life that we don't know how to get away from it because we weren't aware of it. We worried about Trump and him and his wall. We worried about all the things that's going on against us and police brutality, and we fighting person versus person, camp versus camp, religious practice versus religious practice. But just, you know, just to keep y'all aware, there is another fight that is out there that is just important as all these other fights. And I pray that you all got something out of what I said this day. And, you know, I pray that the Most High God allows us all to have a good, joyous Shabbat. I came upstairs a little late, so I probably missed the praise. So I hope we get a good praise service going on this afternoon. Praise is King. Torah again for the time. And Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. Thank you the Most High God for the life of Elkanah Bain, Chief Elkanah, Yehuda, and for the words that he brought forth today. Hoping and praying that the Most High God would enlighten us all with the things that we hear once again, because it's important for us to listen, to be attentive when the lessons are being brought forth. So without any further ado, I'm going to call up the teacher for this portion of the day, even my brother, Samal, Zaccar, BINAH. Come on, for Parasha.
First and foremost, I just want to pour honest praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, the God of CHOKMAH, the God of Yaakov, thanking him for all things and everything. I've been doing something about forefathers. Shabbat Shalom and Call.
Shabbat Shalom and Call.
Please be seated. How's everybody feeling? Good to hear. Thanking the Most High God for life. Thanking him for strength. Thanking him for food, clothing, and shelter. Thanking the Most High God for they have this proverb that says the truth hurts. And the interesting thing about that proverb is that a lot of times we don't like to because we've been in a state for so long where we've had to, what's the word I'm looking for? We've been in a state so long where we always had to try to prove something to someone else. That because we're constantly trying to prove ourselves, what happens is a lot of times we never really get comfortable within ourselves because we're always trying to prove who we are to somebody else.
Right.
So before I start, I'm gonna just let y'all know that y'all don't have to prove yourselves to nobody.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. The Most High God said, y'all gonna be my people.
That's it.
The Most High God established that. The Most High God said, as a part of the promise that he made to Abraham, he said, I'm gonna give you this land that everywhere that the sole of your foot walk, that land is gonna be yours. That's already promised. Right. So I don't need to come and prove myself to anybody about who I am or what God gave me, because that's already given to me. Okay. And we need to be comfortable with that within ourselves, because it's already ours. If you have the deed to your house, you're not worried about nobody coming saying, I mean, unless you ain't paid the mortgage. Right. But you have the deed to your house, the deed has your name on it. So this culture and this heritage, it already has our name on it. So we don't have to prove anything to anybody. With so many things going on, you ever notice how today, these days, seemingly, it just seems to be a lot more people that's just off. A lot more people that just seem weird. It seemed to be a lot more crazy people in this world than you remember when you was a little bit younger. The crimes and the things that you're hearing about on the news seem to be a lot more heinous than what we remember. It seems that in addition to what the young man indicated earlier on, with technology, with the amount of drugs, and when I'm talking about drugs, I'm not talking about drugs, I'm talking about medicine drugs. You ever notice that we don't treat illnesses with holistic approaches anymore? We treat it with medication. And what a lot of the medication does is it causes a chemical imbalance. That's what the medication side effects does. Remember the commercial for Pepto-Bismol? Where it said heartache, stomachache, diarrhea. Remember that commercial? And then they talk about all of the side effects that could come about, and the list of side effects, a lot of times, I'd rather deal with the BGs rather than deal with the side effects associated with a lot of the different medications that's out there. But for us, you know, we just kind of take it as it comes. We don't cook at home too much anymore. So, because we don't cook at home, we dependent on eating out. And I know we vegans, and we vegetarians, and we all of these different things. But, you know, when you go to a vegetarian spot or a vegan spot, the amount of salt that they need to put in your vegan food in order to make it taste good, even though you're vegan and you're not dealing with that aspect of it, but the amount of sodium that they have to put in, you ever tasted tofu with nothing in it?
So I put a lot of salt in it.
Salt and butter.
Which is salt.
In order to make it taste good. And so when we go to the vegan and but that's what happens. So and everything is like quick. When we were a little bit younger, you know, your grandmother used to make those homemade biscuits. And you used to make foods where you, I mean, this is way before my time, but where they used to like grind the seasonings out. And you season food that way and you eat really good seasoned food.
Nutritious.
But now everything is, just like the young man indicated, everything is, let me just grab a pot pie out the fridge and that's dinner. It's not dinner. And a lot of the different things that we're dealing with in this world, we're going to talk about in this portion. This portion is called what? All right, we're going to try this again. I'm going to say this portion is called what? And y'all going to say, I'm going to just keep that answer. I ain't going to try it again because it might not get better. Because what Mishpatim is Maury Yitzhak went through it last week, or portions of it last week, where you had the 10 Commandments. So the Most High God came on Mount Sinai, and he gave these commandments. And then after he gave these commandments, he followed up with a portion called what? Mishpatim. Because whenever you give a command, you have to have an associated judgment to go along with it, or else people aren't going to see the benefit of keeping a command.
All right.
So some of it might be a little bit far-fetched because we're not familiar with it. But we're going to start out in this portion of Mishpatim. Yes, sir, please.
In the portion of Mishpatim found in the book of Exodus, chapter 21, starting from verse 1, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Now these are the ordinances which thou shalt set before them.
Ordinances, statutes, but actually the word is judgments. Mishpatim from the word, I'm going to do more around here. Mishpatim from the word Shevat. Shevat, which is the judge. Mishpat, judgment. And, oh, I'm sorry. And so these are the judgments that you're going to set before him. Come on.
If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve.
And in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he come in by himself, he shall go out by himself.
Right.
If he be married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master give him a wife, and she bear him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. But if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto God, and shall bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever.
Okay, so if you buy a Hebrew servant, everybody wasn't rich in those days and times, so sometimes people fell upon hard times. So you're going to have various types of servants. The Most High is clear that when you buy a Hebrew servant, this is how you deal with that Hebrew servant. Serve you for 6 years. On the 7th year, he shall go out for free. If he come in by himself, he shall go out by himself, and the portion gives all of these different parameters. Then they talk about if the master give him a wife. Now, this is the part where we start to get a little bit sketchy, because you're like, well, how does the master have a wife to give, and then he have the children? And if they have the children and the master gave the wife, then that means that the wife and the children would stay the property of the master. But that's the reason that understanding Torah as a whole is important. Because when you look at the other aspects of Torah and you put it all together, then it gives a clearer picture of how to deal with certain things. Because, and you don't have to go there, but if you read about the law of Jubilee, and when they talk about the law of Jubilee, it says that in the year of Jubilee, all servants shall go out, and he and his children shall go out with him. Okay. So when you look at this, it seems more likely that even if he chose to serve, that he's only serving to the year of Jubilee, because the end of that portion in the law of Jubilee, it says that you shall not be sold as bondmen. You are all my servants that I brought forth out of Egypt. Right. So when they talk about him serving forever, it's most probably to the year of Jubilee. Okay. And again, I don't want to open it up to questions, but I'm going to kind of leave it out there for questions, because I'm going to try to go through a lot of this very quickly, because I know we got a lot to cover. So, have any questions? Quick hand. We try to go through it and keep moving. If I don't see no hands, I'm going to keep moving.
Verse 7. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who hath espoused her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a foreign people he shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her. And if he espouse her unto his son...
Hold on. Okay. So now, they tell you up front, now you already know that we're talking about Hebrew servants. Yeah. Because they said that in verse 2. And so now when it starts in verse 7, it says if a man sell his daughter, daughters don't go out like men servants do. And the point of it all is you have a debt to pay. And the man, if the man is going to pay the debt, he's going to go and he's going to work off that debt. If you're paying off the debt as dealing with a woman, the point of it is that she's being sold as, and sold is a very bad term. Oh yeah. Because I want to be clear. The contract of this is that she's being given to the man to become a wife. That's it. That's clear. That's clear. It says it. If she please not her master, who has espoused her to himself. The contract of it all is that she's going out to become a wife. And that's why when it says, if she don't please him, then she shall go out free without nothing, but you can't sell it to a foreign people, seeing that you dealt deceitfully with her. The deceit comes in because the contract was that she was going to become a wife. And if you you were supposed to deal with her as a wife, but if you chose not to deal with her as a wife in accordance with the contract, then you shall let her go without money, no funds to be exchanged, because you dealt deceitfully with her. Which lets me know that we as a people, we didn't deal with things haphazard. Everything was contracts. Everything, we understood exactly where we stood, so that when you misspeak or when you deceive somebody, there were consequences that go along with how you presented whatever it was that you presented. And let's just keep that in mind, because that's going to be important a little bit down the road. Come on.
Verse 9. And if he espouse her unto his sons, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her conjugal rights shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out for nothing without money.
So now, I'm going to go back to reinforce the point. The purpose of this contract, and what it's talking about from 7, is the purpose of her is to become a wife, either for the man or for the son. The purpose of it was to become a wife. So, and that's why I'm saying in 9, if he espoused her for his son, then he shall deal with her just like a daughter. And if the son takes another wife, the food, the clothing, and the raiment, you shall not, the food, the clothing, and the conjugal rights, you shall not diminish. Because she came in as, even though she came in as a wife, but this was through a purchase, they want to make sure that you don't have in your mind that you're dealing with her any way other than a wife. So if once you get involved in polygamy, which is something that's a part of our culture, that if you take another wife, you can't push her to the side to say, yeah, well, she just came in as a slave girl anyway, right, so I don't have to treat her the same way. Yeah, you do.
All right. Okay.
Just to clarify the misconception, this is regarding this particular scenario.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to get into how men deal with one wife versus another wife versus another wife. It's not my portion. This does not mean, however, that whatever you give her, you got to give me.
No.
And I'm not getting into that because that's not, but this doesn't mean that. The other aspect of this that, and I just lost my train of thought.
Take time.
The other aspect of this is to say that, listen, when a person gets married, a lot of times we don't like to put everything in perspective. When you get married, you need to prepare yourself to get married.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
When you're getting married, you need to make sure that you have a job,
Yes.
and some place to live,
Yes.
so that you can bring this family in that you're about to start.
Amen. That's right. Amen.
You don't do it the other way, that, oh, she got pregnant, so now I guess we married, and because my mother not gonna let me stay here because she already said I don't work and I play PlayStation all day, so we just gonna move into your mother's basement because your mother got a little bit more space. Marriage don't work like that.
No.
Marriage is something that you prepare for.
Amen.
And that's why, and I'm gonna be clear, if you're a young man, I understand. Boys like girls, girls like boys. If you don't like jobs, don't ask for my girl. Because you're not prepared to be married. I mean, I understand part of you is prepared, but the part that I'm concerned about ain't prepared.
Verse 12. He that smiteth a man so that he dieth shall surely be put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, but God cause it to come to hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he may flee. And if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar that he may die.
Okay, so two different concepts here. One concept is, if a man smite a man so that he die, he shall surely be put to death. And they discussed that in the 10 Commandments. It said, thou shalt not murder. So that part of it is clear. The other part of it, now it starts to bring another scenario into play, where it says if the man lie not in wait, but God caused it to come to hand, meaning that it was an accident.
There you go.
So in the case of an accident, what you do is that the Most High God said He's going to make a way, a place where you can go and flee, where somebody can hear the case and then make a determination on the case. However, once you go, if you kill somebody accidental, on purpose, everybody gonna go to the city, because that's what most people gonna do. You go to the city, they make the determination, and they find out that this wasn't, because everything isn't cut and dry. They make the determination that this wasn't an accident, but you did this on purpose through inquisition and inquiry and all of those different things. Then they said, the Most High God said, I don't care if you have to pull him from my altar, that person needs to be pulled, and this person dies. Because the Most High God doesn't deal with spilling blood like the nations deal with spilling blood. It's not just casual and cavalier that you can just kill somebody and then it's okay because I fear for my life or anything like that. That's not okay. The Most High God don't deal with things that way. Come on.
15. And he that smiteth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death.
Do I need to go into this? Nope. This is fairly clear, right? Yeah. You put your hand on your mother and your father, surely put to death. It doesn't matter if your mother was getting on your nerves.
No.
I mean, I've heard of people putting hands on fathers, but that don't really happen too often. Especially when your father's in a little bit of shape, and he don't usually happen. Clear cut. You put your hand on your parents, put to death. Come on.
And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death.
Kidnapping? We clear, right? Come on.
And he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death.
So now, first it said, hitting your father and your mother, you shall surely be put to death. That's right. Now it goes into something a little different, and it says, he who curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. And the only thing that I just want to call your attention to, we don't have to go there, is if you go to Deuteronomy 27:16, where it says, he who, depending on your translation, is going to say something like, he who sheddeth light by his mother or his father, he who lightly esteems his mother or his father, which is actually different, two different words, even though they look the same. The cursing aspect and the lightly esteem aspect. But I think the general gist that we need to get from this is that disrespect to your parents is not tolerated by the Most High God. That part is clear. In any form. And one of the things that you'll see is, because a lot of times, because we're very intelligent people, and we always like to look for the root of things. And I think the reason that we like to look for the root of things is because we try to find the loopholes in things, but that's what my opinion. So, well, but what if my mother this? It was okay for me, but it doesn't say that. It say, you shall not curse your mother, your father. He who curses them shall be put to death. That's clear, right? It doesn't say, it doesn't give any parameters. No. If she didn't let you go to the party where that cute girl was going to be there and you was very upset, then under those circumstances, it doesn't give that. No. He who curses his father or his mother surely be put to death. Amen. And I think what happens is a lot of times we kind of blur these lines. And us blurring these lines, we blur these lines because we don't fully understand how God feels about it. And we don't these lines become blurred because we watch TV and we see other people on how other people deal with their children and how other people's children deal with them, and we become confused and convoluted, and we believe that it's okay for us to deal with our parents in the same manner. We believe that it's okay for if we walking through Macy's and you talk about, I want this toy, and actually, they don't really sell toys at Macy's, right? So we're going to change this up a little bit. We walking through Toys R Us before they closed all the Toys R Us's, and I want this toy, and well, we don't have the toy right now, and you can drop on the floor and start kicking and stomping your feet. Because you saw other people do that. And you think at the end of that, because you saw it work for other people, you think at the end of that, that's going to allow you to be able to walk out with this toy. I can tell you what you're going to walk out with, but it ain't going to be that toy. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Or you might walk out with the toy, and you might have that toy shoved where you don't want that toy shoved. Because we need to understand that the way other people deal with their parents and the way we deal with our parents is different. Yes, it is. And we as parents need to stop being friends. And be parents. That's right. If you're split, if you're separated, you can't allow the children to play off one another because you want more of this or you want. Before you're a friend, You're repairing.
Yes, sir.
Verse 18. And if men contend, and one smite the other with a stone, or with his fist, and he die not, but keep his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be quit. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed.
So now, it's saying if two people are fighting, because a lot of time we like to be real tough, and we like to, it says if two people are fighting, and you hurt your brother, you hurt your brother, because y'all fighting, because y'all couldn't find a better way to get along, y'all fighting, and one of them get hurt, you're going to pay to cause them to be thoroughly healed. That's fair. To me, that's fair. The other aspect of it is, if I know my people, like I think I know my people, you might run across one of those individuals that you hurt that might be like a Derrick Rose or something, that he ain't ready to go back to work right away. You know, my back is still a little bit hurting. I'm not quite ready to go back to work yet. I'm not, you know, I'm 98.723%. But in order for me to do my job, I need to
be more flexible.
Keep it 100.
Because the fact of the matter is if you think that we now live in a litigious society, I can guarantee you that back in our days, I believe there were a lot more litigiousness going on. Because us as people, we have it in us that we ain't gonna work if we could get paid to not work. And that's where we are. Anybody see a story about the man the other day? That he threw the ice on the floor and then he laid down until somebody came to get him? Okay, so for y'all who didn't see it, he was getting him some fountain drink, and he got the drink, walked past,
right idea.
Dropped the ice on the floor, walked back and forth, and then he did just like this. Laid himself down on the floor and laid there until they came to get him. And then filed a claim saying somebody put some ice on the floor and now I got hurt. He didn't know the camera was there. And the camera caught the whole thing on video of him tossing the ice, looking around and laying down. That's the society we live in. This is the society that we live in.
Sure enough.
Because nobody comes work if I can get you to, not 100%, but I got enough sense to know you're not cutting my field right. So you need to cut my field a little bit more to the left. And that's what's going to happen. What does that teach you? You don't need to be fighting. You need to be fighting. After you done paid for an Israelite to be thoroughly healed one good time, I guarantee you won't put your hands on nobody else. Now, I am going to say this. The context seems to indicate that they were fighting, meaning like they were fighting. There was a mutual. I could see, depending on the circumstance, where the judges would see, well, if you go and you attack somebody and then you lose, nah, I ain't paying for you. Because you attacked the person. This is different. Y'all not fighting together, square up. That's not what happened. You ran up on me, you caught the worst of it, and now you talk about I gotta pay for you to be thoroughly healed.
That's not just for somebody.
It's not just for somebody.
No.
Verse 20. And if a man smite his bondman or his bondwoman with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. And if men strive together and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart, and yet no harm follow, he shall be surely fined, according as the woman's husband shall lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. But if any harm follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if a man smite the eye of his bondman or the eye of his bondwoman and destroy it, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. And if he smite out his bondman's tooth or his bondwoman's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake.
So all of these verses from 20, starting in 20 to verse 27, it lets you know that there are consequences and repercussions for putting your hands on people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I mean, I don't want to go into all the specifics of it, but if you think that you're going to fly off the handle and just start giving people these hands, guess what? You're going to pay for it. One way or the other, you're going to pay for it. Because the Most High God is just in everything that he does, and we're not made to be a people to just go around putting their hands on people just because you feel like somebody needs to get these hands. Now, just to kind of go into this portion about it says that if men strive together, so now y'all fighting, y'all pushing each other back and forth, and you hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart, and no harm follow. The no harm follow is y'all pushing back and forth, squabbling, and she gets, and the baby comes out, and there's no issue.
Okay.
Meaning the baby is not harmed, the baby is okay.
That's a little premature.
That's one situation.
Okay.
If the baby come out and there's something wrong with the baby now, that's a different issue.
Yeah.
And it says that's when you pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Because the most High God, everybody is the same.
That's right. That's right.
No, there's no big I and little you. Everybody is the same. And so, and that's why it says, and that's one of the things that you like about God. It says, and I'm trying to find a portion. It says, no, I'm sorry. In the first portion, it says, and yet no harm follow. He shall surely be fined according as to the woman shall lay upon him. So now the woman's husband. So now the woman's husband, the baby come out, and the woman, you know what? Because we live in a very litigious society. You know what? You owe me $7 million
Judges say that.
for my baby coming out early, and they can be preemie, and look how small they look, and they didn't even get all their color. I want $7 million.
Yeah, just like that.
So the judge said, they're going to say, okay, we heard you, and you're $7 million. Being that the baby's okay, give them $500 and walk away.
That's it. Get up out of here. Yeah.
Because the judges are objective and not subjective.
Yeah,
Right.
They know you just trying to come up.
Yeah.
The judges is trying to be fair.
That's it. Verse 28. And if an ox gore a man or a woman that they die, the ox shall be surely stoned, and its flesh shall not be eaten. But the owner of the ox shall be quit. But if the ox was wont to go in times past, and warning have been given to its owner, and he have not kept it in, but it have killed a woman or a man or woman, the ox shall be stoned, and its owner also shall be put to death. If there be laid on him a ransom, then he shall give for the redemption of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. Whether it have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to this judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox gore a bondman or a bondwoman, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good. He shall give money unto the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his.
So, and again, because it's a lot, I want to try to get him to read through a lot of different things, but the basic gist of everything that we just read is this thing called responsibility. And you're responsible for what you do. So now, if an ox, if you have, and it gives you two scenarios.
Yes.
You have an ox that the ox hurts one person's ox. It happened, it's an accident, okay. However, if your ox was known to push other animals in times past, and you did nothing about it, you took no action against it, now you're liable.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we talk. Whether it's an ox or whether it's killed a child or whatever it is, again, the Most High God is fair. If it just happened as a random act, it happened. But if you were warned about it and you did nothing about it to fix it, now you're responsible. It's just like the city. That's why you have people who go around and like you have people who literally take pictures of potholes. That's their job. And they report potholes to the city. So that as soon as you hit a pothole, they can show that the city was responsible because you were warned and the city chose not to do anything about it. Very litigious place we live.
Verse 35. And if one man's ox hurt another's, so that it dieth, then they shall sell the live ox and divide the price of it. And the dead also they shall divide. Or if it be known that the ox was wont to go in times past, and its owner have not kept it in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead beast shall be his own.
Now, just to show you, and again, I know it's the same thing that we talked about, but just to kind of show you the contrast. So what happens is you have one ox, you have the owner's ox, and you have the other individual's ox. So the owner's ox hurts the other individual's ox, and it died. So now the owner isn't actually fully responsible, but there is some responsibility there. So what you do is you take the the owner's ox, the ox that caused the issue, you sell it. Now the person whose ox was killed, now he gets some sort of a benefit because now he lost the benefit of his ox and his animal. And on the other hand, you have the owner who, even though it was an accident, first time, he still took a loss too because now he doesn't have the use of that ox. Versus the second part of it, whereas, but if the ox is known, now you just sell. Now, the owner has to pay ox for ox. You know what? Your ox killed my ox. I'm taking your ox. Now I've been redeemed. I've been made whole from my animal. So now I still have my animal to work, and now you out an ox. Sound just?
Verse 37. And if a man steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall pay 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep.
So I'll tell you one thing for sure. For all these sticky finger people, you get one of these good judgments, and I bet you'll stop stealing. Because if you steal one TV, and you got to pay back 5 TVs, I bet you'll learn today.
Chapter 22, verse 1.
But that's what judgment does. The purpose of judgment is to make people think about the action that they're going to do before they do it. That's the point of it. Come on.
If a thief be found breaking in and be smitten so that he dieth, there shall be no blood guiltiness for him. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood guiltiness for him. He shall make restitution if he have nothing. Then he shall be sold for his theft.
Okay, so now, 2 scenarios. The thief breaking in your house. Now, I know a lot of times people deem this if the sun risen upon them, meaning it's day or night. It's not day or night. It's if I catch you breaking in my house, whether I don't care if the sun is shining bright as day, and I catch you in my house, you're going to feel it.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm going to be clear because you had no business in my house if I didn't invite you in.
That's right.
You had no business in my house. And that's the difference between the two. Now, the second part of it, meaning if time passed and I see you later, I'm not justified to kill you at that point. Now you just have to pay.
That's right.
But if you in my house, I remember reading the story just to kind of break it up a little bit because I know it's a lot of reading. Remember this. So they caught a man. This is back a few years back when stealing airbags was popular. They caught the man stealing. What happened was he hopped the fence of a car lot. He had airbags. He was going back over the fence with the airbags from all the cars. He cut himself on a barbed wire and fell. And he sued. And he won. And that's the reason that you don't see barbed wire on fences today. Because that. That's the reason. He fell. Airbags all over the ground. So they know he stole them. But he cut himself on a barbed wire and he sued. And he won. Just to show you the difference between how God deals with things and how people deal with things when you don't have God.
All right.
Come on.
Verse 3. If the theft be found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall pay double.
If I catch you with it, you pay double. No questions asked.
No
It's fair. And you'll, again, at that point, that'll teach you to stop stealing.
Yes, sir.
Come on.
If a man cause a field or a vineyard to be eaten, and shall let his beast loose, and it feed in another man's field, of the best of his own field and of the best of his own vineyard shall he make restitution.
That's fair?
That's fair.
We good, right? You let your animal out, he eat all my good mango, then I'm gonna get my, and they gonna go eat all your good mango. Because that's fair. Because I had a fence and you should have kept your animal outside my property. Come on.
Verse 5. If fire break out and
Do
catches
animals actually
thorns,
eat mangoes? They do? I mean, I don't know. I'm not from, I'm from Brooklyn. You know, I don't know about no animals eating mango. I got chased by a chicken when I was 6. Ooh, I ain't know nothing about no chickens except on a plate. I ran. And if you were 6, then again, y'all grew up with chickens, so y'all, you know. That's not. You was familiar with that. I was unfamiliar with a chicken. And if you're unfamiliar with a chicken, when that chicken start flapping and start coming, I bet you will run too. Just saying.
Unfamiliar, you will, yeah.
Thank you. I got confirmation. We're gonna move on.
Verse 5. If fire break out and catching thorns, so that the shocks of corn or the standing corn or the field are consumed, he that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution.
Fair, right? Yeah. Okay, come on.
Verse 6. If a man
now,
deliver...
Hold on. I just want to say, now, in these next couple of verses, we just need to read them very carefully because they pose a couple of different scenarios. Come on.
Verse 6. If a man deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, he shall pay double.
Now, very clear. You give him stuff, he put the stuff away in his house, someone steals it, you catch the thief pays double. Theft don't never pay when they catch you. Come on.
If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall come near unto God to see whether he have not put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. For every matter of trespass, whether it be for ox or for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, whereof one saith, this is it, the cause of both parties shall come before God. He whom God shall condemn shall pay double unto his neighbor.
So now, what they're saying is, so you didn't find a thief, the stuff is gone. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to come before the judges and you need to swear that you didn't put your hands on your neighbor's stuff. Which you know we good for. Swear and we be lying. Swear to God. First thing we go to. But that's not the end of it, because you still go to the judges and then the judges still ask questions. So swear to God, don't always fly. Because they're going, okay, I know you said, can you run through your testimony again? Because I just want to understand exactly what you said. Because it's just not just a simple matter as that. And the reason that all of these things are important is because when somebody gets stolen from, if you've ever been stolen from, you feel a way, don't you? And if you lose a ring and you see somebody show up with a ring that looked just like your ring, and you had an engraving on the inside and the engraving got shaved out, but yet it looked just like your ring, you feel a way, don't you? And you feel a way against that person who got the ring that looked just like your ring, but the engraving was scratched out.
The person who got your ring.
And the point of it is that the purpose of a lot of these judgments is so that you don't have those hard feelings about when somebody steals your stuff. Or when you've been a victim of it. Whatever it is that you've been a victim of.
Verse 9. If a man deliver unto his neighbor
different scenario,
an ass or an ox or a sheep or any beast to keep, and it die or be hurt or driven away, no man seeing it, the oath of Yahweh shall be between them both, to see whether he have not put his hands unto his neighbor's goods, and the owner thereof shall accept it, and he shall not make restitution.
So now you deliver the animal or whatever the item is, and it be stolen or driven away. You have to swear, and after the judges ask all of their questions, if the result is inconclusive, then you just have to swear. The owner has to accept the oath that the individual took, and then if you sworn lie, you just need to take that up with God. But the owner at that point has to make it good, has to accept it. But
what if it be stolen from him? He shall make restitution unto the owner thereof.
You know why this is different? See, before you delivered it and it was in the house.
Right.
In this particular case, it was stolen from the person. Which, and I'm going to give you a perfect example. How you know I was going to say chain? Because I did like this? You must have knew I was going to say chain. So now I say, I need you to take my chain home because I'm going to a trip to Africa, and I'm definitely not wearing it in Africa. So I need you to take my chain home. And
yeah, you don't wear gold.
Listen, hold on. Y'all calling me wrong.
Right.
So you mean to tell me y'all gonna take a nice chain and y'all gonna go in the hood of the Dominican Republic and y'all gonna that's what I'm saying. Africa, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, Panama, East New York, anywhere that you know that it's some animals that will take your stuff. Anywhere
that somebody's hungry.
Africa was just the first place that came to my mind. But I'll name either one. Anyone. East New York. Best style. That used to be do or die. I'm not talking about Stuyvesant Gardens, I'm talking about do or die. Anyway.
The bill that's real.
So I say, look, can you take my chain home? Keep for safekeeping. So now, if the chain is stolen out the house, you know what? It was stolen. We don't know who did it. I'll accept it. But if you was flossing with my chain, and they took it from you, you have to pay. Because you were supposed to take my chain home, and you were supposed to safeguard my chain, and you shouldn't have been flossing with my chain. We good? Make sense?
12. If it be torn in pieces, let him bring it for witness. He shall not make good that which was torn.
That means if we tussled, and I don't have the whole chain, but I got pieces of the chain. Then, right? Look, bro. I tried to hold it down, you know what I'm saying? But it was like 50 of them, and everybody took a piece, you know what I'm saying? And I just got this one little link left. I know it don't mean much, but you know, only got it because I tried. You know what I'm saying? You know, I tried.
13. And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, and it be hurt or die, the owner thereof not being with it, he shall surely make restitution. If the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be a hireling, he loseth his hire.
So, you have two scenarios again. If you borrow something from somebody, and it hurt or die, the owner's not there, you borrow my car, I might know I had engine problems. You borrow my car.
Wow.
You go to the next block, and the engine come out. No. Guess what? You owe me a car. Because that's what it say. I wasn't there. I don't know if you took it up to 70 and threw it in reverse. I don't know what you did, because I wasn't there. The second part of this is a little bit tricky. Because there's no commas or semicolons in Hebrew. So when you read this, depending on how you read it, you can kind of come up with two different ways. And we've had this conversation about it, and we just can't really come up with an answer. Because it says, if the owner be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be a hired thing, he loses the hire. So you can read it as, if the owner is there, he shall not make it good. You can read it that way, in the sense that, well, the owner was with the car, so I was just driving, but you was there, so you know I didn't do anything crazy with the car, so I don't have to make it good. You can look at it that way, or you could kind of read through everything and get to the point where it's like, he shall not make it good if it be a higher thing. Meaning, if you said, like when you rent a car, and I know we all know that because we do all types of stuff to rent a car.
Yes.
All types of examples and things we do to rent a car. So what it's saying is, if you rented it, or if you hired it, and something happened to it, then I don't have to make it good, because guess what? It came with the price of the hire. Make sense? All right. So now we're going to get a little bit more serious.
15. And if a man entice a virgin that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely pay a dowry for her to be his wife.
So now, they use this word patah, which is, well, and it's actually in PL, so it's actually pitah, which means to entice or persuade, which means you went, you had a conversation, you talk, you have some dudes, pretty ricky dudes, and they just say all the right things. Things happen, and you know, one thing led to another. This is where we are. That's one thing. But I want to say something about this, because I also concordance this word patah, because I wanted to fully get the understanding of what this patah means. This patah and you, or pitah, when you enticing somebody, this is you enticing somebody that has the capacity or the ability to provide consent. That's what it is. That makes sense? Yeah. I mean, I want y'all to understand what I'm saying, what I'm going with this, because I want to be clear. You cannot entice a 7-year-old girl because she does not have the capacity to provide consent. Right. There's a big difference between enticing and molesting. That's right. Big difference. Right. And we need to be clear on the two. And y'all want a couple of references? Go to Proverbs 1:10, Deuteronomy 11:16, 2 Samuel 3:25. All of that, because you'll see, and the point of it is I want everybody to understand that, because a lot of times what we do is we do the foulest of things and then try to justify it by God. If you 40 and she 13, you don't have the ability to provide consent. You 13. You're 40. There's a difference.
That's right.
This country has made 16 to 18 as the legal age, depending on the state, to be able to provide consent. And if you're under the age, the legal age of that state, then they have this law called statutory rape. I agree. Because you cannot believe that you're just going to, and I mean, it's a lot to this, which when you start to go into the next verse, but I just want to be clear. Enticing, molestation is two different things. Questions? No questions? Come on.
16. If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins.
So this they use this term in this grammatical instance in Hebrew where they double the word. So in here, when you read it, it says ma'ain yema'ain, which is to refuse. So what it's saying is, if the father, that all of this happened, it happened, and it says you shall surely endow her to be your wife. So if you entice a virgin, that's of some legal age to provide consent, and it says you shall surely endow her to be your wife. However, if the father says no, absolutely not, No way in bleak. No way. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. No, no, no. That's his right. And you still have to pay. And you do not get the girl. Because that's the right that parents have. And tying this back in with 15, that's the problem when you have these sneaky, slimy type of individuals that want to bypass people's parents and people's guardians, and you want to go and whisper in their people's ear. And that's what happened. So I'm going to tell you, you need to be careful. I'm a man. I'm a man. And when you see men hanging around young girls, you need to be skeptical and leery of men who's always hanging around young girls. Always. We in here playing dominoes and some, look, we got big, we got the clear moonshine, we got all that. We got all that. We got yodels. And you want to hang out with 12 and 13-year-old girls? There's a problem. And at a certain point, we need to start to talk about when situations like this come up, because there's no reason why you should be 40 hanging out with a bunch of 12-year-old girls.
That's right.
Unless they're your daughters.
Right.
Good.
That's right.
Questions?
17. Thou shalt not suffer a sorceress to live. Whosoever lies with the beast shall surely be put to death. He that sacrificeth unto the gods, save unto Jehovah only, shall be utterly destroyed. And the stranger shalt thou not wrong, neither shalt thou oppress him. For ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child, if thou afflict them in any wise, for if they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. My wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless.
Okay, so I'm going to jump back to 17. Witches, thou shalt not suffer a sorceress to live. We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever lieth with a beast shall surely be. I don't even want to. And you put no pictures.
As it should be. As it should be.
Put no pictures, so y'all know we good.
Yes.
All right. Say less.
Less.
All right. He that sacrifices unto any god, save Jehovah only. We good, right? Sacrificing, Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, all of that type of stuff. We good, right? Because just so you know, like Thanksgiving dinner, eating on Friday or Saturday is still Thanksgiving dinner. You know that, right? No, I mean, I used to celebrate Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna tell you, when you used to take the turkey on Saturday and cut off that turkey and make a turkey sandwich with the Thanksgiving turkey, oh, that was the best turkey sandwich ever. That's the best, better than the sandwich that you get from the corner store, all that. Still Thanksgiving dinner. Still dedicated. We good? Wronging a stranger, oppress him. We were strangers in Egypt. Afflicting a widow or the fatherless child. I know that we as a people, a lot of times, because we like to joke about everything. We like to make fun of things. Sometimes we like to tell jokes that's not really jokes. They really digs, but we just masking them as jokes. When it comes to certain things, the Most High God is very specific about. He said, don't start afflicting widows. Don't start afflicting fatherless children, because you see his response. Because he says, in any wise, if you do this, and they cry unto me, meaning you made me feel away because I lost my parent. You made me feel away. You took advantage of me because I didn't have a husband to defend for me. All of those different things. They cry out the Most High. You need to deal with it. Come on.
24. If thou lend money to any of my people, even to the poor with thee, thou shalt not be to him as a creditor, neither shall ye lay upon him interest.
If he had problems and he had to borrow the money, he can't pay extra money back. That's right. Come on.
If thou at all take thy neighbor's garment to pledge.
I noticed somebody said banks. I'm going to say this. Me, I was the only one. I felt that that this is specifically talking about poor people. That was my feeling. And my feeling is, and I'm being clear, this is my feeling. My feeling is, if you talking about borrowing money not because you poor, but you talking about borrowing my money so you could use it to make more money, and you pay me back my money, and I lose the interest on what I would be having in the bank, I feel like I should be able to charge at the very least what I'm losing from lending you money that you using to make. So you're going to use my money to come up, and I'll get nothing to set my money back. That was my feeling. But when I tell you everybody in the room was like no, everybody in the room was like no. This is probably the only time I disagree with all of them, and I still think I'm right. But listen, you know, I still think I'm right. But that's what they told me. They said, you know what? Just don't lend to them. I said, that don't even make sense. But that's what they told me, so don't ask me to borrow nothing.
For your business. 25.
For your business, right. If you poor, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to ask you some questions to vet you to make sure that you're not just, I'm just saying.
If thou at all take thy neighbor's garment to pledge, thou shalt restore it unto him by that the sun goeth down. For that is his only covering. It is his garment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep. And it shall come to pass, when he crieth unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. Thou shalt not revile God, nor curse a ruler of thy people. Thou shalt not delay to offer of the fullness of thy harvest, and of the outflow of thy presses.
So, again, the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt give unto me. Again, just kind of going through a lot of things very quickly. If you take the garments, neighbor's garments that pledge. So if like, I need to borrow whatever. So here, you can take my garment and you can hold it. If you're going to take it, you need to make sure that you give it back. Because if that's what he sleeps in and he cries out to the Most High, if that's what he sleeps in and he cries out to the Most High again, I know a lot of times we just need to kind of loosen up a little bit. We want something just to make sure we're going to get our money back. That's how we are. And I understand that. But, you know, sometimes you just need to this is talking about collateral. Sometimes when you give certain things, you just need to know it's a high probability that it's not coming back. My mother said to me, can I borrow whatever I give it back? I say, yeah, ma, sure. Okay. Right, just there you go. No, I give it back, ma, no. I know you think you will. Understand?
Likewise shalt thou do with thine oxen and with thy sheep. 7 days it shall be with its dam. On the 8th day thou shalt give it me. And ye shall be holy men unto me. Therefore ye shall not eat any flesh that is torn of beasts in the field. Ye shall cast it to the dogs.
All right, so just to kind of clarify a couple. Well, thou shalt not revile God nor curse the rule of thy people. We good? Yeah. Okay. You shall therefore not eat any flesh that's torn with beasts in the field. The word that you look at is a word called terepha. It doesn't mean torn with beasts. It means torn anything. If you driving and you see a deer halfway living on the side, a deer dead halfway on the road, you can't pick it up and have venison for dinner. That's the Most High God don't want that from us. Nah, people do it. Yeah, they do it. People do it. I'm not going to go into the technical aspect of, and we got a doctor in here, so I'm really not going to go into the technical aspect, but, about the hormones that they release at the point of death, and the toxin. I'm not going to go into all that. I'm just saying God said don't do it. So we don't do it.
Chapter 23, verse 1, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thou shalt not utter a false report. Put not thy hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness.
This was very, if you look at this uttering a false report, and I can see why they translate it this way, but like the terminology that they use is shema, which means like you, not really a false report, but just something vague. Shall from the term where it say, Lo tisa et shem Yehovah Hekal. You shall not take the name of Yehovah thy God in vain. Same word. It's not a false report. It's more like, you know what? You hear something and it don't have nothing to do with nothing, but you just want to go and carry it anyway. That's more so what this is talking about. Like, you know, you having a regular conversation. You know he ain't come home last night, right? But what they got to do with anything? I mean, we was talking about something else. What him not coming home got to do with anything? But, you know, we hear things, and I know sometimes things are just so spicy and so juicy that I just can't. I got to tell somebody this because it'll burn a hole in my mouth if I don't. That's the type of stuff that causes problems and make people not there to get along.
Verse 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou bear witness in a cause to turn aside after a multitude to pervert justice.
If you didn't see it, you're not a witness.
Mind your business.
Right. I was trying not to go there. I wanted to say that a couple of different times, but yeah, mind your business.
Mind your business. Verse 3. Neither shalt thou favor a poor man in his cause.
Meaning, just because, you know, because we have the best way of just looking so innocent sometimes. And so a lot of times we'll look at a person and be like, this person poor, they couldn't have did this. We don't judge faces, we judge cases.
Right. Verse 4. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. If thou see the ass of him that hateth thee lying under its burden, thou shalt forbear to pass by him. Thou shalt surely release it with him.
So this, and again, the specifics of it is very, very clear, so I'm not going to go into that. But one of the things that I will say is you can see clearly that the first thing that it's teaching is everybody ain't going to be the best of friends.
Right.
And that's okay. The other thing that it says is that you can't let your personal feelings get in the way of Torah.
Right.
So if you don't like me because I said litigious about 17 times, and you see me and my broke car that I borrowed from somebody else that broke down on the way up to the Gowanus, and you don't like me, you still need to stop and you need to help me.
Right.
You don't have to say nothing.
Right.
I just need to help.
Verse 6. Thou shalt not arrest the judgment of thy poor in his cause. Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and the righteous slay thou not. For I will not justify the wicked.
You know what's funny? There's a lot of times you don't really know what a false matter is until you actually investigate it. And most of the time we don't take the time out to investigate it anyway because that just takes too much time. It's a lot easier for me to just pass it right on. I'm going to tell you, righteous judgment is not usually judgmental. Judgmental is, you know, righteous judgment is based on you objectively looking at everything related to the case, not putting your feelings in it, and judging based on the merits of the case.
Verse 8. And thou shalt take no gift, for a gift blinded them that have sight, and perverted the words of the righteous.
Bribes. No bribe. Right? It's not a gift, it's a bribe.
Yes.
We use the term gift, but the term is actually bribe. And it could be a gift when you go up to somebody and say, here you go. But when you go up to somebody, here you go, you know my case is coming up. It's different. And it's the same words. The spirit is different. Yeah.
Verse 9. And a stranger shalt thou not oppress, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Right.
And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and gather in the increase thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie fallow, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard, and with thy olive yard. 6 days thou shalt do 6 days shalt thou do thy work, but on the 7th day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may have rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed.
So now, I'm gonna start with the last one first and the first one last. You know, the first thing that the Most High God did was he gave the Shabbat. so that you can take time. You can let your body rest. You can let your mind rest from all of the different things that's out there. And then the Most High went on to say, 6 years you're going to sow because you're going to work hard in those 6 years. But in the 7th year, you just let it lie fallow. You know what that means? That allows people to be able to walk by and pick up food and eat and all those different things. But that also gives you a whole year to not be plucking up and planting and digging and all of those. I mean, it's a certain rest for the body and a certain rest for the mind that the sabbatical things that the Most High God brought forth, that's what it gives us. And that's why you see us, we look different than people who work 7 days a week. You look different. Because you never, when you work 7 days a week, or even if you just don't shut down and you don't give your mind a chance to relax and refresh itself, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
13. And in all things that I have said unto you, take ye heed, and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth.
And this is the reason that when you hear us say things like JC or all of those different things based on this law about making a mention of the names of other gods.
14. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I had commanded thee, at the time appointed in the month Aviv.
Feast of CHOKMAH, right?
Okay. For in it thou camest out of Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou sowest in the field,
Shavuot, Chag Shavuot.
And the feast of ingathering, at the end of the year, when thou gatherest in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before Jehovah God. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my feast remain all night until the morning.
This, they're talking about the Passover sacrifice, that you don't offer the Passover sacrifice, the Passover lamb with leavened bread. Come on.
The choicest first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of Jehovah thy God. Thou shalt not see the kid in its mother's milk.
I just want to take a quick opportunity to talk about this, because it's something that that I've been doing, and I'm going to continue to do. I plan to take every scripture possible to clearly make a separation between Israelite culture and Judaic practice.
Oh, man. Okay. Thank you.
Which is Judaic practice being a religious practice.
That's right.
The Most High God didn't give us a religious practice. The Most High God gave us a way to live.
That's right.
What I also plan to do is I plan to take every scripture to show the clear difference between Torah and Talmud, Mishnah, Shulchan Aruch, Halakhic way, Kabbalah, and all of those different things. The only way that the Most High God said that when Moses gave the law, he said, these statutes and these judgments is going to be your wisdom and your understanding of the sight of nations. The only way that we're going to return back to God is by being Israelites. That's it. We're not going to turn back to God practicing Judaic practice. We're not going to return. And I'm not bashing anybody. However, I want to be clear. The Most High God commanded Torah. He did not command Judaic practice. He did not command any of that. So I just wanted to bring y'all a little excerpt from Judaic practice just so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Right. So it says, thou shalt not see the kid in the mother's milk. Right? A kid is a baby goat. So this is from the Mishnah. It is prohibited to cook the meat of a kosher animal. I'm going to stop.
That's it.
God don't talk about kosher.
Amen. That's right.
God talks about clean and unclean.
That's right.
God don't talk about kosher.
Right. Here you go.
It is prohibited to cook the meat of a kosher animal in the milk of any kosher animal, not merely the milk of his mother. That sounds different from what we just read.
Right.
Because this clearly said, thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. Right? It didn't say nothing about milk of kosher animals and other kosher animals and all of the other different things. But then they went on to say, and deriving benefit from that mixture is prohibited. I don't even know what they're talking about. I don't know what mixture you're talking about. To me, when I read stuff like this is not only not consistent with Torah, this don't seem consistent with the way we write things and the way we say things and the way we do things. That's just my opinion. But then, it goes on to say, it is permitted to cook the meat of a kosher animal in the milk of a non-kosher animal. Or the meat of a non-kosher animal in the milk of a kosher animal, and deriving from the benefit from that mixture is permitted. I'm just going to leave the second part of that out because I'm educated and I'm just lost. That's right. So what it seems like the first part is saying is you can't cook a kid and you can't cook any kosher or clean animal in the milk of another kosher or clean animal, but you can fry up your nice lamb chops in some pig milk.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right. Right.
Camel milk.
Camel milk.
Pig's blood and
all that.
Chickens. Yeah.
That don't sound like what I just read.
Yes.
Just show the difference between the two. And it don't, I mean, when you read the reading of it, it don't sound like something that somebody who used to be named Yohanatan and now they changed his name to Tyreek. It just don't sound like the name or something like that they're right. Come on.
Verse 20. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee by the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Take heed of him and hearken unto his voice.
So he's going to guide us every step of the way. Right. And in that guiding of every step of the way, he's saying, take heed, make sure you listen. That's a problem that a lot of us have. A big problem listening. Listening is important. Come on.
Take heed of him and hearken unto his voice. Be not rebellious against him, for he will not pardon your transgression. For my name is in him.
When God sends beings to do certain things, it ain't like us.
Right.
God sends beings to do certain things, and they do it because God's name is in them, and that's just it.
That's it.
But if thou shalt indeed hearken unto his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies, and an adversary unto thy adversaries. For mine angel shall go before thee, and bring thee unto the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Canaanite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, and I will cut them off. Thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their doings, but thou shalt utterly overthrow them.
He said a couple of different things. He said, you shall not bow down to them, nor serve them, nor do after their doings. That do after their doings is becomes very complex. Yes. Because a lot of times, we as a people don't realize that most holidays and different practices and customs that other people do are in representation of their religious practice, and therefore in representation of their God. Tashlik, as nice as it might sound, God gave us a way to atone for sin. Amen. And it's not throwing apples in some water, hoping some demon is going to be pleased with our apples and save us. That has nothing to do with us. When we start talking about religious practice and custom, God gave us a way to do everything that we need to do in order to please him. We don't need to incorporate anything else.
That's right.
Come on.
But thou shalt.
I just need you to read a little faster. We in a home stretch. Just need you to read a little faster.
And break in pieces their pillars. 25. And ye shall serve Yehovah your God, and he will bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. Amen. None shall miscarry, nor be barren in thy land. Amen. The number of thy days I will fulfill. Amen. I will send my terror before thee, and will discomfort.
And this is what we want.
That's right.
So if the thing about getting rid of sickness and all of those different things is not the Atkins diet. It's listening to God. Amen. Because that's the only, God is the one who you think you're going to be on the Atkins diet and disrespect God, and that's going to make you healthier, God brings sickness, and God brings bad health.
None shall miscarry, nor be barren in thy land. The number of thy days I will fulfill. I will send my terror before thee, and will discomfit all the people to whom thou shalt come. And I will make all thine enemies turn their backs unto thee. And I will send the hornet before thee, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before thee. 29. I will not drive them out from before thee in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against thee. By little and little I will drive them out from before thee, until thou be increased and inherit the land. And I will set thy border from the reed sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness the river, for I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and thou shalt drive them out before thee. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me. For thou wilt serve their gods, for there will be a snare unto thee.
So when we went in, we weren't supposed to make any agreements, any deals. We were just supposed to put them out. Because typically what happens when we when we allow other people to hang around us, typically what happens is we typically pick up their ways, and very seldom do they pick up ours. And it's something that he said here that's very interesting. He said that their ways will be that serving their gods, because it's going to be a snare unto thee. You know, the thing about a snare or a trap is a snare or a trap is not something that's readily obvious. That you can just see it. A snare is something that looks good, it smells good, and once you get involved in it, got it.
Chapter 24, verse 1, hallelujah. Hallelujah. And unto Moshe he said, come up unto Yahweh, thou and Aharon, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Yisrael.
So now, I just want to kind of jump back to what Mori Yiftach said last week, because, I mean, we even though we went through a lot of different judgments, we're still in the midst of that history of them dealing with Moses. And so Mori Yiftach was telling you last week that there was things that were happening in the wilderness where people were starting to get upset. So first Moses was the one. Now Moses is making all the rules. Like he said, his father-in-law comes in and his father-in-law gives some advice. Then he takes that. And first it was him and his brother that was doing everything. Now he calling up him, his brother, and his 2 nephews. What about the rest of us that have been doing and functioning for years? And you know, right? And you know, in that particular case, I understand it only because those people were called by God. However, I do understand the flip side of it when you see people who just pop up out of nowhere and they fresh and they new and they become the imperial ambassador to the great king of the Jehudite, whatever. And you just wonder how you get this name and you just got here. You know, anybody heard of Reggie Jackson? Yes. Mr. October. Yes. Reggie Jackson earned his name, Mr. October.
Straw that stirs the drink.
Reggie Jackson always performed in October, which in baseball is World Series time.
Right.
So he earned the name Mr. October because he always performed. How you earn the great ambassador of the king of the Hanasi Jehudite? How you earn that? How you earn that?
Made it up, you earned it.
There you go. If you made it up, you earned it. Okay. That's like Kenny the Jet Smith. And Kenny the Jet Smith was never called the Jet. Any years he was playing basketball, he became an announcer, and now he Kenny the Jet Smith.
He was never fast like that.
Never fast. Come on.
And worship ye afar off, verse 2. And Moshe alone shall come near unto Yahweh, but they shall not come near, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahweh and all the ordinances. And the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahweh hath spoken we will do. And Moshe wrote all the words of Yahweh and rose up early in the morning and builded an altar under the mount and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Yisrael. And he sent the young men of the children of Yisrael, who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahweh. And Moshe took half of the blood and put it in basins, and the half of the blood he dashed against the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the hearing of the people, and they said, all that Yahweh hath spoken will we do, and obey.
The thing about, and this I'm going to tell you, it's like the virtue of earning a title for work performed has been lost.
Right.
Because you look at Moses and everything that Moses did. I mean, if anybody should be the imperial ambassador of the Judite king of Levi and all of those different things, it would be Moses. And yet Moses was just plain old Moses. With all of the work that he did. 40 years in, splitting seas and all of that, and he was just Moses. It's a certain thing about when people ain't show you no respect for all those different years, and now you found a way to get some respect, you're going to get that respect one way or the other.
Verse 8. And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which Yahweh hath made with you in agreement with all these words. Then went up Moshe and Aharon, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Yisrael, and they saw the God of Yisrael, and there was under his feet like of a paved work of sapphire stone.
They saw the semblance of what God showed them. Right. Come on.
And like of the very heaven for clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Yisrael he laid not his hand, and they beheld God and did eat and drink.
Because when it says that he laid not hands on the nobles, because if you go back to verse 2, the only person that was supposed to go up was Moses. The Most High clearly said, Moses, you come up alone. But everybody went up, because you know how we do. That blue sapphire and paved work. I just got to see this. So they all went up, and in this instant, the Most High didn't lay hands on them. But, what verse was it?
12.
Oh, no. So, I just want to reference back to verse 4 for a minute. And try to wrap this up, right? I don't think that time is right. You look at the iPhone time. Okay. And don't worry, I'm not about to drop my phone like he did. I don't know what that display of whatever that was. I'm not dropping my iPhone. But, you know.
Technopoly.
Right, all that. I'm going to technopoly my phone right back in my pocket. It said 12 pillars for 12 tribes. To show that we were 12 different sects of people. At that point, different people, different personalities, all of that. And just because we have differences in ideology, just as many groups do, we still one people, but we all don't think or look or feel the same way. You know, so just to kind of have a quick conversation about everything that's going on in the media about black Hebrew Israelites and hate groups and all of those different things, you know, I understand. Some Israelites chose to deal with this by allowing the media to divide us publicly by going and throwing our brothers and sisters under the bus and and condemning an entire group for what the perceived actions of what 4 people were. That's their choice. That's how they chose to handle it. That's their choice. Other Israelites chose to take a stand to say, you know what? You don't condemn all Catholic people the same way. You were very clear to say Catholic school in Kentucky, these particular people. Right. When you talk about when people who perform Judaic practice and when some of the rabbis were caught giving herpes to little boys, you don't say all rabbis give herpes to little boys. You are clear to say this particular rabbi from this particular sect did this. So why are you lumping us all together? Right. Why can't we get the same courtesy? You know, I'm going to tell you, and everybody deal with things the way they deal with them, and everybody is unique. You have some of us that have been boycotting the NFL since the season started. Right. You got some people that's buying chicken wingettes right now so they can prepare for a Super Bowl party. That's right. Different people. That's right. Different ideologies. we're not all the same. You know, when you reference back to 23:7 and it says, keep thee from a false matter. The fact of the matter is, and I actually looked up what the obligation is of a journalist. And part of the obligation of a journalist is to make sure that they tell a story objectively,
Right.
so that you can properly inform the people of what happened.
Right. Right.
The fact of the matter is there were 4 individuals there, and you chose to put up pictures that were unrelated to the 4 individuals that were there.
Right.
4 people, you put a picture of 25 to 30 people that were menacing and standing there, and then you want to use this to substantiate your claim that this is a hate group.
Right.
When the evidence didn't support that.
Right.
So, the first thing that I'm going to say is, at no point do we agree with violence.
That's right.
We are going to say that just like how you tell us when our unarmed individuals are shot in the middle of the street, or choked, or kicked, or whatever it is, and you tell us, well, just watch the whole video and wait and see and let the process take its course, why didn't you offer the same courtesy?
Well, honey, that's right. That's right.
This week, New York State was asked to review the allegations to determine what happened, why 4 12-year-old girls were strip searched inside of school.
That's right.
So, and the first thing that they said was, don't jump to judgment. We need to get all of the facts.
That's right.
My first question is, since when they start strip searching people in school? At 12. Were their parents not afforded the opportunity for you to call their parents and talk to their parents about their, what you perceive to be unacceptable behavior? Yeah, absolutely right. I don't remember talking about strip searching or searching of school students at any age. I agree. At 12? As much as I did in high school, I ain't never been searched, and I definitely ain't been strip searched. I did a lot. So I understand when people want to say, why y'all got to turn everything into a black-white thing? I understand that. So I just asked the question, how come, and I just learned this word, how come every nefarious act that is committed against us, there has to always be some justifiable reason about why we shouldn't get upset about why this happened?
That's right. Thank you.
Always.
Right.
So I'm going to just conclude by saying, at no point do we teach hate, nor are we a hate group.
That's right.
In fact, we teach more love and tolerance than most of the people in this country, because that's how God taught us, even though we were exposed to the different things that y'all did to us in this country for the last 400 years.
That's right.
So please ensure that you do your due diligence to make sure you separate us from other groups, just like you offer the same courtesy to every other group who practices something that is a little bit more palatable to you.
Right.
All honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks I offer unto the great King of the universe. Thank you for all things and everything. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Hallelujah. Blessed be.
Thank you to Most High God for the life of Samal Zaccar ben Don, for that powerful lesson. And it's true what he said, because, and I believe in Galveston, Texas, they released, the Archdiocese released 300 names of Catholic, and they specify Catholic priests. The New York Times, they don't say Protestant priests, they don't say whatever other priests, they Christians, but they specify it. 300 priests that over 8 decades have been abusing children. 8 decades is 80 years. For 80 years, they've been sexually abusing children. So, and they made it very clear that it was Catholics that did that. Yeah, recorded. And they specified, they said that they know. And the ones that have speculations on them, they didn't even release those names. But the ones that they know for a fact molested children. So, you know, we should be afforded the same courtesy when it comes to us being Israel and at least checking with us. And you call us for anything else, so you should call us to get a quote here and there in order for us to be able to say something. So we thank the Most High God, because the Most High always reveals everything, and the Most High God will always protect us no matter what. Hallelujah. At this time I say the words that the Most High God gave unto Moshe to give unto our Hadron and his sons to bless the children of Yisrael. Hoping and praying that on the conclusion of this portion of the day, that the Most High God look down upon each and every one of us and grant us a blessing. Wadaber Yehovah El Moshe Lemor, Daber El Hadron we El Benah Lemor, Kotabarku et Bnei Yisrael Amor Lahem. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto our Hadron, unto his son, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Yisrael. Ye shall say unto them, Yevareka Yahweh Yishmareka, Yair Yahweh Panawaleka Wikuneka, Yisa Yahweh Panawaleka Yasim Laka Shalom. May Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. May Yahweh make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and may he grant thee peace. Hallelujah. Eastern time. Hallelujah. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy.